to Watercolor by Scarlett Damen. That's me, of course. Today we're going to take a look at the Viviva watercolor sheets. So I have three little color palettes here. The two on the right were originally sent to me a few months ago, and those are the sample versions, whereas the one on the left is the one that I purchased. I believe they are currently running at $15 a palette without any extras. My first impressions of the Viviva color sheets is obviously its size. It's teeny tiny, fits in the palm of my hand. This watercolor set has 16 vibrant, transparent colors, which gives you a really good range. There are 2 blues, 2 bluish greens, 2 greens, 2 reds, 2 oranges, 2 yellows, and a pure red and a black. I am particularly impressed by the etui that comes with this watercolor set, which is a beautiful French word, if you're not sure, for ornamental case, which comes with a little elastic at the back so you can easily slip your Viviva watercolor sheets into your case without having to worry about it falling out. Now, this little piece of paper, I've removed the sticky part and it glues into the back. And back here it says something about attach this piece of paper right here. So that's what I'm doing. It turns out as I open it that it has a glossy side to it, so it's actually a palette that flips out, which is just the coolest idea. I was totally not expecting the palette. I also wasn't expecting the etui. I was expecting a little wooden box, but I had thought back at the day, okay, they're going to send me a little wooden box, but how's that going to work? This whole wet, you know, sticking it in kind of thing. This is so much better. In today's watercolor tutorial, I will be painting a kiwi. I started off by laying down some plain water using my watercolor brush. I could have used any brush, it really didn't make a difference, but I really like using a watercolor brush because it's nice and easy, and it's already got the water inside and I don't have to dip it. And when I'm out and about, it's a perfect brush to have on hand to add that water to my painting without having to worry about bringing water as well. Although I do bring water in a small container, just in case. So flipping through the Viviva watercolors, I initially settled on the light green, which is a beautiful yellow. It's really not green at all. It's definitely got more of a yellow tone to it. Mixing that with a little bit of sap green, and then later using some of the blues. So the Peacock Blue, and what else did I use here? The Peacock Blue and the Viridian. So I just want to put down my base coat, my initial underlayer. The yellows and a little darker yellow for the center. Looking at a kiwi, it's actually really complicated to create a kiwi. There's a lot of white, there's a lot of really light lines in the middle, and there's a ton of dots. So if I was to copy the kiwi and try to make it as realistic as possible, I think it would turn out to be really complicated, really busy, and that's not something I want. So when painting a kiwi, I find that I tend to be much more creative and kind of just do whatever I want, get the colors down, draw some of the lines that pull through, those beautiful, perfectly symmetrical white lines that pull out from the center of the kiwi. But when I'm painting it, it's more of a chaos, a little mix of this and that. Just throw it together and see what happens. And the only thing that I really pay attention to is at the very end, I put in a few seeds, not nearly as many as what's in an actual kiwi, but a hint of a few seeds. And this, I think, is a nice way of tying it together. So it would be similar to perhaps painting an animal, where the animal is total chaos. The color of the fur goes absolutely everywhere. It's just a wild mess, but it's amazing because the eyes are perfect, like just dead on, absolutely perfect. So that's the same thing I'm doing here by creating this wild mess, but then coming back with seeds that are much more realistic. Now, if I was to paint just the underlayer without any shadows, I would have a very flat kiwi. not actually a bad thing, but in this case I want to add some shadows. I want to create that dimension. I want to bring in some tonal range to give it perhaps a little more texture on the outside. So what I'm doing now is dropping in a little bit of green and a little bit of blue. Now on the Viviva color sheets, they have 2 greens and 2 blues, and 2 blues that are kind of green. So let's see, we've got the light green and the sap green, and then we've got the Viridian and the Peacock Blue, and both of those are bluey greens. So they're a little too green to be blue, but they're a little too blue to be green, but they make beautiful mixes when I mix them with other things. Now, speaking about mixing them with other things, I really appreciate the index, the color index at the bottom of this little booklet. So now I'm painting the tiny little seeds. I think I might go over these later on with a second color and add some yellow, some kind of highlight onto the seeds, because they currently look a little flat, although they look pretty good in this video. So I will be doing a second tutorial or a second voiceover for this tiny kiwi painting, where I talk more about what I'm painting and the colors I'm using and the brush I'm using, the material and that kind of thing, just as a pure watercolor tutorial, not as a review for the Viviva watercolor palette. So if you guys are interested in that and you want to just see what I did and how I did, the technique that I'm using to actually get the paint on the paper, you can definitely come check that out over on Patreon, Patreon/Scarlett Damen. But for now, I'm very happy with the Viviva watercolors. I've definitely decided that I'm going to go back and order a few more. In fact, they have one set where you can buy 5 at once, and I think I'm going to buy 2 sets, so I'll end up with 10 palettes, which I can throw into my watercolor box and just have as I need them for the future. Thanks for watching. I am Scarlett. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll put all the information down below, and I am not being sponsored by Viviva. There is no affiliate codes or anything like that. This is purely just for fun. I really like the company and I wanted to share it with you. Have a great day. Toodaloo!